So it's kind of strange being here, a little surreal. The last time I was in the sanctuary, I was a brand new member, and I was sitting right over there by Hilda, and is that Donna Warch, and Rosaline? I was right around that, and Bill. And now here I am, and thanks to Zoom, I've still gotten a chance to get to know a lot of you. And it was actually through one of these new and somewhat unexpected friendships that I was introduced to a book that really resonated with me. It's called More Beautiful Than Before: How Suffering Transforms Us by Rabbi Steve Later. In it he wrote, "May our suffering be a promise we keep to fix what is broken with the imperfect tools we have been given." Right now I can relate to being that imperfect tool, but I'm here anyways. So I grew up in a Baptist church, the First Baptist Church of Oxnard. I went to Sunday school and sang in the choir. But it wasn't until the summer I turned 13 that it all started to really make sense. I was spending the summer with my grandparents in Santa Cruz, and I loved spending time with my gongong and papa. But summers felt really long in those days, and I was happy when they sent me away to summer camp, summer church camp. And while I didn't like trying to preach the gospel in Golden Gate Park, I did love singing hymns around the campfire and canoeing around the lake, the fellowship. And I ended the summer getting baptized in the ocean. I was young and my heart was open. And for a long time after that, this period was the closest that I ever felt to God. After that, school and work and life kept me busy. I got married and we started a family, and church didn't really fit into our lives. And so instead, on Sunday mornings, we would go for a walk on the beach and collect trash. And that has its own kind of spirituality in caring for the earth. And it was in that mindset that I decided to attend a local talk on the effect of climate change on seabirds. And I was really impressed because I didn't know that churches did that sort of thing. And that was my first ADG. I checked out Bible study, and thanks to a wise and knowledgeable teacher, I discovered that I was reading the Bible all wrong. I was missing all the context. Oh, there's Matthew. But mostly what I loved was that the message always came back to one of hope and love. And I found that really comforting as the world was becoming more and more divided and confusing. And I found that coming back to my faith was the only thing that helped me to see things clearly. It is only with the heart that one can see rightly. I grew up in the 70s with Coca-Cola ads and Mr. Rogers. I had this amazing teacher who embodied all of that and instilled in us the importance of kindness and inclusion. The very first Earth Day was celebrated in 1970, the same year I was born. So 50 years later, I still believe in the same things I did when I was young. But now I see the world with different eyes. Viktor Frankl, psychologist, philosopher, and Holocaust survivor, said, excuse me, "For the world is in a bad state, but everything will become still worse unless each of us does his best with the imperfect tools we've been given." Last year, when we went into lockdown, just 3 months after I joined the church, and ironically during Lent, I thought, wow, if ever there was a time to commune with God, be tested and isolated, forced to ponder life and what it means to walk in the valley of the shadow of death, well, this was it. But even though it was a dark time, people everywhere were stepping up, finding creative ways to build connection with whatever gifts they had: music, art, technical savvy, caring calls, positivity posts. All over the world, there were messages of hope and millions of small acts of kindness. And it wasn't sappy or Pollyanna-ish. It was exactly what we needed most in the world. During lockdown, Donna and I took a class called The Science of Well-Being, now famous for being the most popular class at Yale ever. Apparently, everybody wants to know, What makes us truly happy? Well, it's no surprise that one of the most important things was recognizing our individual strengths, like humor or social intelligence, leadership or love of learning, and sharing them, using them in our daily lives. Our daily homework included expressing gratitude and doing kind things for people. It included self-compassion, like exercising and eating right and meditating. And then at some point, I realized that this course on how to be truly happy was basically a blueprint or a step-by-step guide to loving your neighbor as yourself. So essentially, God's greatest commandment is also one of his greatest gifts, that compassion is a true win-win, and perhaps the only way to fix what is broken in the world with the imperfect tools we have been given. There's work to be done, and I'm so grateful to be part of this community where we're doing that work, inspiring hope and connection. You're all a part of my faith journey now. We're all a part of each other's. And right now, at this pivotal time, as we're starting to come back to church, and as I serve on the Senior Minister Search Committee, searching for the one who will lead us forward and unite us on our common journey, I've come to see it as a sort of spiritual hero's journey. We have a quest, a common mission, a higher calling, many challenges and obstacles, but also many unlikely and sometimes reluctant heroes. But how eventually, with the help of a myriad of allies, with all different talents and strengths, whether you're a leader, a helper, a thinker, or a peacemaker, that we as a church will come together, step up, and bring the best out in each other, fixing what is broken with the imperfect tools we have been given. Individually, we are one drop. Together, we are an ocean. Thank you.
Good morning. How you doing? I feel honored to be sharing this stage with Rita. What a lovely person. If you haven't met her, you better, okay? And talk about somebody in and starts doing all kinds of things. At the same time, raising two sons. I don't know how you do it. So you have my blessings. Okay. I wouldn't be here today except for Carol Huguenin. First of all, when we met at UC Santa Barbara many years ago and decided to get married, I didn't want to get married in a church. Nuh-uh. And Carol says, no way, we are going to get married in a church. And we did. And then when we came to Manhattan Beach, we lived here for a few years, and Carol says, why don't we join a church? I said, I don't want to join a church. And she said, you're going to join a church. Now you know who runs things. And we came here, and we've been here for over 4 years. So Carol, thank you. Fantastic. Okay. What I'm going to do this morning is talk to you about what MBCC, UCC means to the two of us, and using different words for each of those letters. Now, my mind is kind of wacky, so I need you to help me remember which letters I'm going to work on this morning, okay? So the first letter is what? Yeah. Good. Here we go. You cannot have a church service, as you guys know, without music. And we are so lucky to have a fantastic choir led by Pat Edwards and with the accompanist of Evelyn Belt, Lee Lassiter on the organ, and then our individual solo players. I used to play the flute in Bakersfield. When you play the flute in Bakersfield and you're a boy in junior high school, I wish I had kept it up, okay? We might have a duet, but there's no way you're going to get me up here with my flute. And so I think it's wonderful. Is the Chen family here? Talk about beautiful violin playing. Anybody agree? We agree? Yeah, fantastic. And then we have our own resident, what do we call that thing you hit with the chain? Marimba player is right back there, Kevin Hefner. So to me, music is so important. How many churches have musical theater they do every year? And children's theater, thanks to you and Evelyn. Okay. So music has been an important part and reason why we enjoyed this church. It's just fantastic. Okay. Now, there's a rumor that this lady here pays me a huge amount of money every year to not join the choir. Okay. So, okay, we have another letter to advance to. What's the letter? B. Benevolent, also beautiful. We are a benevolent church. We help people outside of our church. And I don't have time. There's no room on the screen for everything we do. So I'm just going to highlight it. Okay. 1736 Family Crisis Center provides shelter for runaway youth and battered women. Since 1972. One of our members of the church, Ron Troop, was president for 30 years, now on the board of directors. Ron, you're fantastic, what you've done. Thank you. Okay. Now, if you want to roll up your sleeves and do some work, and we've done it, Carol and I have done it. We've worked on Habitat for Humanity with the Mariners Group, I believe it was, and then gone down and helped to prepare food and serve food at St. Paul's for the homeless. And that's been fun, working together as a team. But one of the things we realized is maybe we should be doing more benevolence, and it's kind of cool because we increased the amount in our budget to do that. And Jerry and Tatenda, you know them? Okay, related to Pat Johnson, and they run an orphanage in Zimbabwe for providing education and shelter for kids. So I think that's cool that we are expanding what we do outside of the church. Okay. What's my next letter? B? C. C stands for caregiving. And that's something we do within this church that is absolutely fantastic. If you need emotional support, if you need food, you better be careful. Okay? You better have a lot of room in your refrigerator because committees are going to be formed and people are going to prepare food and deliver it to your door and take care of you. Right? And then it's a hoot. Walk out in front of this church before church starts sometime and watch the people driving up in cars with an older person in the back. They grab the wheelchair out of the back and help them get in and roll them in. And those are not necessarily related people. Those are just members of our church that are taking care of each other. So we do all kinds of things to provide care for each other. What's my next letter? C. What is it? Another C? Oh, well, that stands for contrasting. That's cool. When I grew up in Bakersfield, my folks made me go to Baptist church, and they said, you have to believe this way or you're not going to heaven. And that just turned me off to religion. And in this church, we have a broad perspective on religion, on politics. Our lifestyles are totally different, and our professions are totally different. Okay? And it's so much fun to talk to each other about professions and lifestyles. The old guys get together sometimes. They say, well, what was the first car you ever owned? Well, mine was a 1937 Chevy, four-door, took it to college, met Carol, had a nice back seat in it. And we've got a gentleman in our church back there, Jim Belt, asking what kind of food he likes to eat. He might tell you that he loves to eat squirrel. Okay, so yeah, that's old Jimbo for you. So we have a broad range of interests that we ought to share with each other because it's a hoot doing it. Okay. All right, so we need all these contrasting people, and we get along, okay? So what's the next letter? U. Okay. And I couldn't have written better. We get all these little pieces of us together, and I should have said unity. It's right here. We gather in unity and love. We said it this morning. And I think we do that. With all of our differences, we're able to do that. And it is a wonderful feeling to make that connection with each other here. Next letter. Another C, curriculum. I'm running out so many C's. Okay. Curriculum, you can get a free education here. All right. I think what Sylvia Miller is doing at this church with the youth is fantastic. I think she's great. And she is doing the best she can to increase our Christian education program for youth. I don't know about you, but Bible study was the most boring thing I've ever been to in my life till I came to this church. Okay? And, amen? Who said amen? Okay. And then Carol and I went to one of Reverend Powell's Bible study classes, and it was a hoot. First of all, his knowledge of religion is remarkable. This morning we're just talking, he said, did you know that the ministers used to carry around a stake, or a, what'd you call that, pole? It had a stick, it had a feather on one end and a knob on the other. And they would walk along, and if you were falling asleep, he'd tickle you. Okay. If you were falling asleep, you'd get a bonk on the head. Who would think of that? All right. So cool. And he provides humor also as part of the Christian education process and encourages discussion, not just one way to believe. So if you want a broader perspective on things, join the adult discussion group. Jim Duffy is fantastic what he's done. Gosh, I saw something this morning. We had a talk on Mount Zion. I'm dumb enough to think it was Zion National Park. But he talks about religion, but also other things, politics, history, and not just Christian religion, but all other religions. It's a wonderful experience going to the adult discussion group. And then we have a number of book clubs, and the key is clubs. We don't sit in a corner and read a book. We read a book, and then we get together as groups and discuss those books. And that's so much fun. Okay? What's my next letter? Camaraderie. I love it. We not only worship together, work together to help others and ourselves, we have a lot of fun. When I first joined this church, somebody said MBCC stands for Manhattan Beach Country Club. Okay. But really, we have women's fellowship, mariners and shipmates. Mariners, when we first started, the rule was if the two spouses' ages added up to greater than 80, you couldn't be a member. Now we have members that I love you. I hope I'm half as energetic as you when I'm your age. Choir, it's really five trips internationally. Yeah, that's super. Carol and I never took a drama class in our lives, and we started out. Where's my lovely we started out in the theater with this lovely lady right here, Sally Palm. And she was showing us how to paint the sets. And that's the way we got started. And after that, we ended up stage managing, how many? Over 10 plays, Carol? Yeah. 10 plays. And then we produced 2 with Godspell. And then we did the only theater in the round ever done in this theater, in this church. And it was 12 Angry Men. And we produced that. We're kind of proud of that fact. So the theater has become it's a team. People building sets, people directing it, the actors, the stage manager. It's a team of people working together. And if you don't work together, it ain't going to work. And I believe that's a perfect example of camaraderie that we do here. And not to mention the parties we've had afterwards. And then a lot of special interest group, the guys ski group, the bicycling groups. Jim, I'm all dressed for work day. We have a dinner with the guys group that is kind of like Women's Fellowship, only we really don't have an agenda. We just like to get together and socialize, but we do help each other out when needed. And I get back to book clubs again. So we feel blessed to have been members of this church for over 40 years. And to have all of you, we consider you family, and I think you feel that way too. We give, we receive, and it's just a blessing, okay? So that's the end of my talk. I'd like to finish it with one last word from Reverend BJ. Thank you very much.